been having a discussion with Peregrine Bushcraft in the comments section below about the Karrimor Predator 30 litre pack, just exactly how much gear you can get in here. Now I hope you've already seen that I've done a video about a minimal pack out, a minimal kit for an overnighter, and I showed this kit, this pack in that. I've also done a review of this pack, but I wanted to do a counterpoint to that minimal kit. I wanted to show you when you're not doing a minimal kit, when you're packing it up for a night out of luxury, exactly how much gear you can get in here. So 10 days ago I went to the Bushcraft Festival and I used this pack for an overnighter, and I didn't want to be roughing it. I wanted to be having a good night there, so I filled it up with all the gear that I needed for a real good evening out. So I'm going to go through the pack and show you just how much gear you can get in this 30 litre pack when you want to have a luxurious night in the bush. This pack nominally is 30 litres, so the main pack is 30 litres, but it's covered in molly so you can add on pouches, and that's what I like to do, so I can customise it for any particular activity I'm doing. And let's go through the pouches, and then we'll open the pouches, open everything up, and I'll show you what I've got inside. On either side I've got two GI bottle containers. Then I've got a large Karrimor pouch here. I've got a small Karrimor pouch here, and I've got, I forget the name of the manufacturer, but this is supposed to be like an iPhone, a smartphone carrier, but I've actually pulled out all of the padding inside it, and now it's just a small pouch. We'll take an outside-in approach. I'll go through everything on the outside, and then I'll dig into the main compartment. First of all, there's a tent pole. This is a 3-piece tent pole which will give you a total length of about 90 centimetres. I use this for creating my tarp shelter, which I've done a video on. Check that out if you've not already seen it. If you're interested, how you make a 1-pole tarp shelter. On this side, it's my primary water carrying solution. Oh, before we get into that, how much does this whole thing weigh? Without water it weighs just a little bit over 10 kilos, that's 22 pounds, and with the water carrying capacity, both of these bottles carry a little bit over a litre of water, so that's another 2.5 kilos maybe. So if you're fully laden it with water, you're carrying about a little bit over 12 kilos, that's about 25-26 pounds. On this side I've got the steel Pathfinder canteen bottle, and here there is the Pathfinder canteen cup for cooking in, the stove bottom that you place your canteen on to cook, and the lid for the canteen, and it looks like that. So that's your cooking, that's your main cooking side and your main water. On this side, as I've said in other videos about this pack, this is water containment if I think I'm going to need a lot of water, otherwise I just use it as a standard pouch. So on this side there's another GI bottle with a plastic model. Great bottles, nothing wrong with them being plastic as long as you don't have to cook in them. Then we come down to what used to be a smartphone or a camera pouch, but I've now repurposed it specifically to carry it's the perfect size for my, not just for mine, but for anybody's Trangia cooker. And I have this filled with alcohol, so I've got enough alcohol in there to cook with. And of course I keep it in a plastic bag because these O-rings are not 100% foolproof, they can leak. So, and once you've had it leak once, you'll always remember to keep it in a plastic bag. Here, it's just this is always in this front section of this pouch. There's a blood stopper for first aid. Obviously I'm not expecting to use that on the little camp out at the Bushcraft Festival, but it's just something that always stays in there, just in case. And then we come to the small pouch, and this one is just a miscellaneous pouch. It doesn't really have a specific purpose. It can be repurposed for whatever I need it on any particular trip. I might not even need it if it's if I can get everything in the main part. This is like just an alternative. There's a using the Swedish Army alcohol bottle container. I've got alcohol for my Trangia, again in a plastic bag, because you don't want to rely on that cap. Well, if it leaks, that's going to potentially ruin a lot of stuff in your bag. And then there's just a couple of other things in here which are throwaway items. There's a piece of fat wood if needed to get a fire started. There's just a bic. This is just a backup bic, it wouldn't be my main one. And there's a whistle. It's plastic, it doesn't weigh anything, it's just saying it always stays in that pouch. So it just follows along, even if you're only going to go to a bushcraft festival and you're not actually going to be out in the wilderness and you're not going to be getting in a dangerous situation. Then this pouch is always my food pouch. I keep this dedicated for food, and this is nearly always on the pack. So I've eaten the ones I took to the festival, but there would have been 2 freeze-dried meals in there. This is one I took. This is just an extra little survival biscuit if I got a little bit peckish. There's the actually, this is the new thing that I've got. It's one of these silicone coffee cups or cups, and it's good because it squeezes down. You can get a little bit of coffee in there, and it means, you know, a cup is just saying it takes up a lot of space in your pack, really, when you think about it. So it's good that you can have something like this which collapses up and down. I've only used it a very handful of times, but so far I'm impressed. It's working. And there's some instant coffee in a plastic bag, and of course something to eat with, a titanium spork. So that's all the outside pouches. I like having the pouches on the outside because it means you're not digging down in a main pouch having to pull out all those little items. You can get to anything just like that. If you want to get the coffee out, if you want to get your food out, if you want to get your mug out if someone's offering you a drink, you don't have to dig down into a big bucket pouch. But now let's dig down into the big bucket pouch and see what I got in there, because I've got a hell of a lot of gear in here. Yeah, no, we'll go to the back first before we get to it, because I said we'd go outside in, and on the Karrimor pack you can open up the top, and up here I always keep some dedicated items up here which are nearly always here, so I can find them. First of all, bog roll, in case you can't find some delicate moss to wipe your arse with. And then it's just a Ziploc bag full of toiletries. It's got a toothbrush in there, toothpaste, it's also got some water purification tablets, it's got matches, it's got another lighter, it's got soap, it's got earplugs. If it's a windy night I like to put earplugs in so I'm not kept up by the wind blowing on the tarp or blowing on the trees, and some tissue papers, some wet wipes. Yeah, just a basic toiletries bag. Always follows with, I think there's one more thing in there, just a bandana, something I got from a bar once, a Jägermeister bandana. Jägermeister's a funny story about that. I met Lars Felt, the great adventurer, and I don't want to say too much, but let's just say he's a big fan of Jägermeister. Okay, let's go into the big pouch, the big bucket, and get out the big ticket items. Now on this night I didn't know exactly where I was going to be camping, so I wanted to make sure I had plenty of cover to keep me dry during the night, because I didn't want to get up on the morning of the big day of the festival and had a bad night's sleep, was wet, you know, drained because I didn't have a good night's sleep. So I made sure I packed plenty of cover materials so that I'd have a good night's sleep, and that's what you're going to see when I open it up. But before we get to the cover items, I had a couple of items of clothing. So it was a fleece, just to make sure, keep me warm if I felt getting cold. I had an extra t-shirt, and then we get down into the shelter build materials. Tent pegs, an inflatable sleep mat, piece of luxury I don't like to give up. This is an X-Ped Air Mat Light UL5M. It's not very wide, but because it's not very wide, it's nice and easy, portable, packable, light. It's very easy to blow up. I'm a big fan of this. Don't get it near fires because then you will get holes in it. First time I ever used it, some hot coals jumped out of the fire and landed on it and put holes in it. But they do give you a repair kit, so I fixed it very easy. It was very good, and I've had it a couple of years, maybe 3 years since then. It's still going strong. Just keep it away from hot coals. Now, some of the things that start to get a bit heavier. This is my 3 metre by 3 metre DD tarp. If you want to see me how I actually use this, I've got a video of me building my tarp shelter. Check that one out, guys. Also in here I've got all the cordage that I'd need. There's plenty of bank line cordage in this package, in this stuff sack. Next, there is a DD poncho, and this is a 2 metre by 2 metre tarp, which is also a poncho, so it's got a hole for your head. So this, if it had rained in the daytime, this would have been my wet weather gear, but it's also good. I like to take it with me so that I can use it as a ground sheet. I can sit on it outside of my tarp, so I'm not sitting on the damp ground. And this is made out of that real old-fashioned waterproof. It's a real heavy thing. This isn't a lightweight piece of kit. This must weigh like 2.5–3 kilos. Compared to, I mean, this is the 2x2 tarp here is much heavier than the 3x3 tarp here, just to give you an idea. Next, I've got the British Army bivvy. I've got a video on this. Check that one out if you want to see exactly what it is. The reason I took this is because I wasn't sure where I was going to camp. I didn't know if it was going to be damp ground, and because this roll mat is quite narrow, I wanted to be able to protect my sleeping bag by containing it within this if it needed to be. Actually, I didn't need to use it in the end. And even if it's a hot night, you might not want to get into your sleeping bag, then you can just get into your bivvy. But if you take this with you, it makes a nice pillow if you don't actually use it to climb into. You see, it's like the box of tricks here. There's loads of stuff in it. We almost come to the bottom now. I've got to remember the name of this one. This is a Snug Pack Special Forces 1 sleeping bag, which is comfort rated down to 0 degrees Celsius. And I use this 2/3, 3/4 of the year before I have to start to use my winter sleeping bag. I like it a lot. It's very light, and if you put it in its stuff sack, it shrinks down to smaller than this, probably half the size of this. You can get it really, really small in the stuff sack. The reason I don't keep it in its stuff sack is because, number one, I don't like to keep it compressed because I like to keep the insulation properties by not keeping it compressed. And also, if you're like me, you might be a little bit lazy, and when you wake up in the morning and you've got to repack your sleeping bag into one of them stuff sacks, you've got cold fingers, you're wet, it might be a miserable kind of atmosphere going on, and trying to stuff your sleeping bag into one of them little stuff sacks, it can be a real hardship. So I like to pack with it just in whatever rucksack I'm carrying. And then really you don't lose a lot of space. In fact, you might gain a lot of space, because you might gain some space, because when it's packed down into a stuff sack, it actually becomes like a hard ball. When it's like this, everything else sort of like moulds around it. So that's what I do. I don't bother with the stuff sack or the compression sack. I just put it in the bottom of the pack. It's working for me. And then there's one more thing which I hadn't meant to take with me. I took with me the Free Soldier collapsible folding stove, which I've also got a video of. This isn't meant to be a trailer for all the videos I've made, it's just because I make videos about the kit that I use. And this was just in the bottom of the pack and I took it accidentally. But of course it serves the same function as this, more or less, so I didn't need to take it. And also it's very heavy. I took this out, I'd say about 1.5 kilos on the pack weight. So bear that in mind, that was also in there. So there you go. I'm pretty impressed with what you can get into a 30 litre pack. And with all this gear, I mean, this is just for one night, but if you just add if you add more food, and then maybe if you feel like it's necessary, you can also add extra clothes, then this can easily take you out to 3 days, which is kind of like a point I was touching on in my other video about this pack, that you can turn it into a 3-day pack with the addition of these pouches. You know, if you'd included, and there was plenty of space for it, if you included 4 or 5 more of these meals, a little bit extra clothes, then of course this can take you out to 3 days, no problem. It would only add on 2, 3, maybe 4 more kilos to the weight of the pack, and as you're using it, it's going to go down. I hope you've enjoyed this video, guys. I've really enjoyed presenting it. This is all gear that I use all the time. I think you can see that it's gear that I use all the time. I come out with a new video every week about the outdoors, bushcraft, survivalism, the little I know about it, gear reviews. So if you're interested in seeing that kind of content again, please subscribe to my channel, and hopefully I'll be seeing you soon.